Just get ready to start my council meeting.
Phone numbers, can you forward me Bradley Powers' number when you send?
Will do.
Alright, thank you, sir.
All right.
Is Trina join us? Councillor Appleby join us? No? Strange fit.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'll call our regular public council meeting for Wednesday, September 21st, 2022 to order. First things first, we have a motion to appoint acting town clerk. Tony?
Thank you,
Please.
Worship. As our CAO, Don, will not be here in attendance for the public meeting, we have to appoint and as acting town clerk. So the motion, in the absence of Chief Administrative Officer, Town Clerk, for the public council meeting of Wednesday, September 21st, 2022, that Deputy Clerk Ann Pico be appointed as acting town clerk. Any operational matters are to be referred to the appropriate department director. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right, thank you, sir. Now, new business, Councillor Tapper.
Pass.
Councillor Pollard.
Pass.
Councillor Goss.
Pass.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Manning.
I'll pass.
Thank you. And I got thanks. All right, is there anybody that wants to get on the first Q&A session? I do have a question that I received in email. One? Okay, all righty. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. So, first things first, we got a adoption of the meeting minutes from September 6th. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any errors or omissions? No, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, conflict of interest. Anybody got interest they wants a conflict, or a conflict they wants interest? According to this sheet, everybody got it? All right. If there is, you can bring it up when the item comes up. So, proclamations, presentations, Q&A. So we got a bunch of proclamations tonight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, first one, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Councillor Tepper.
Thank you. Okay, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, September 2022. Whereas, as per the Canadian Cancer Society, the most common cancer among Canadian men is prostate cancer. And whereas prostate cancer is the third leading cause of death from cancer in men in Canada. And whereas 1 in 8 Canadian men will be diagnosed with the disease in their lifetime, and 1 in 29 will die from it. And whereas this year alone, 24,600 Canadian men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and 4,600 Canadian men will die from prostate cancer. And whereas factors that increase the risk of developing prostate cancer include family history, black ethnicity, including African and Caribbean ancestry, and obesity. And whereas trans women and non-binary people who were assigned male at birth can also get prostate cancer. And whereas men who have a higher risk of developing prostate cancer should consider testing from age 45. And whereas it's important to get regular health checkups and see a doctor if there are symptoms and concerns about your health. When prostate cancer is found and treated early, the chances of successful treatment are better. And whereas the survival rate for prostate cancer can be over 90% when detected early. And now,
Therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, Mayor of the Town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim September 2022 as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Comments?
yeah, I want to comment because I asked the mayor actually to present this proclamation because I was a victim myself some years ago. And obviously I'm one of the stats, and I'm one of the lucky ones because my doctor detected mine early, like the proclamation says, the earlier the better. And you know, and you don't realize who's in the same boat as you are until I think you get it yourself. And then you get friends and other people. Like I was in public office at the time, and I had other people approach me once they heard. And, you know, you could only give them the advice and what you went through yourself. So it is, I'm, like I say, I'm really lucky because right now I'm cancer-free. I have been since March, well, 5 years now. So, you know, I fully support this, and I really urge any men out there that, you know, have any symptoms whatsoever, and even to be on the safe side, get your blood work done twice a year. And that's the biggest thing that picks this up. So I'm in full support.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? Well, I can tell you that I'm one of them statistics where it's in my family on both sides, my parents, and my dad had prostate cancer, and I can tell you right now, my wife is watching this right now, saying it's time for you to go get your checkup, which I try and do regularly to so I can become, if I do, one of the good statistics like you were. So anyway, it's important that we put these proclamations out there to raise awareness for these diseases in particular that are highly treatable, and to make sure that we as members of council and the town, we do our part to raise awareness. So, all right, that's it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir. Next one, Proclamation FASD Awareness Month. I think I gave that to Deputy Mayor.
Yeah. Okay, whereas fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, FASD, is a diagnostic term used to describe impacts on the brain and body of individuals prenatally exposed to alcohol. FASD is a lifelong disability. Individuals with FASD will experience some degree of challenges in their daily living and need support with motor skills, physical health, learning, memory, attention, communication, emotional regulation, and social skills to reach their full potential. Each individual with FASD is unique and has areas of both strengths and challenges. Whereas FASD NL is a pan-provincial organization that educates, provides supports and resources, and raises awareness about fetal alcohol spectrum disorder in Newfoundland and Labrador and Atlantic Canada. And whereas FASD NL is leading a 3-year FSAD prevention, awareness training, and collaborative action project in the 4 Atlantic provinces. And whereas FSAD Awareness Month is devoted to raising awareness of fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, to improve prevention of FSAD and diagnosis and support for individuals with FSAD, and broad public awareness helps our FSAD, the MAP, end.
Therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2022 to be FASD Awareness Month in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I got one here, hopefully somebody is gonna see it, can do it in their package, because I only got, nobody else has copied this one, right? Because I already signed it. It's in the package. All right, so I'll get Ralph to do this one again, I think. The one about the Queen, buddy? National Day of Mourning Proclamation?
Okay. Whereas on September 13, 2022, Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau announced September 19, 2022 as National Day of Mourning in Canada to mark the passing of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And whereas September 19, 2022 coincides with her late Majesty's state funeral in London, United Kingdom, and the end of the official period of mourning in Canada. And whereas the National Day of Mourning is an opportunity for Canadians to honour and commemorate the life of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And whereas, in the words of our Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, on September 19, Canadians from across the country will pay their respects to Canada's longest reigning sovereign, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. For most Canadians, she was the only monarch we ever knew, and many of us felt a deep affection and appreciation for her dedication to Canada. This is a time to honour an extraordinary life of public service marked by grace, dignity, and an unwavering sense of duty. Whereas this day, September 19, 2022, is designated a holiday not only for the public service of Canada, but also for the town of Torbay to recognise the National Day of Mourning.
Therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, do hereby proclaim September 19, 2022 as National Day of Mourning to honour Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? I would just say that as this proclamation indicates, that Queen Elizabeth is the only monarch probably that, well, certainly any of us have known, and Ralph, sure you too. She's been on the throne almost as long as you've been alive. Anyway, you know, it's I join with other municipalities across the country who have proclaimed this and recognize that day as National Day of Mourning. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, next one. National Truth and Reconciliation Day Proclamation. I think I gave that to Councillor Goss.
National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, September 30th, 2022. Whereas the Government of Canada is committed to reconciliation and ensuring that the tragic history and ongoing legacy of residential schools is never forgotten. And whereas in the Constitution of Canada, Indigenous people of Canada include First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people of Canada. And whereas the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, of which the town of Torbay is a part of, exists on the ancestral homelands of the Inuit, the Innu, Mi'kmaq, and the Beothuk, recognizing that the culture of the Beothuk has been lost forever and can never be recovered, but can be celebrated. And whereas in 2021, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau declared September 30th as National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, and that September 30th is also known as Orange Shirt Day, which is a day of remembrance for survivors of residential schools and those who never made it home. And whereas the Government of Canada has passed legislation to make September 30th a federal statutory holiday, and this day will serve as a day to recognize and commemorate with all the other First Peoples in the province of Newfoundland, commemorate the legacy of residential schools. And whereas the town of Torbay is committed to promoting and strengthening mutually respectful relationships with the urban Indigenous community in Torbay, with all First Peoples in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, do hereby proclaim September 30th, 2022 as National Day of Truth and Reconciliation in the town of Torbay. So moved.
Seconded.
Comments? I think that this is important, and I know we've been talking about it around several tables. This one, the M&L board that I sit at, I don't know, they talk about it at FCM as well, looking for ways that municipalities can reach out to our indigenous communities and provide programming and you know, and start to really, I guess, practice what's in these proclamations. And I know Jen works hard on that, and she's in contact with First Light and looking for ways that we can, as a town, demonstrate the, I guess, the proper recognition that this deserves. And, you know, hopefully we'll do more coming up in the future. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Oops. Proclamation for National Seniors Day. Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. National Seniors Day, October 1st, 2022. Whereas communities across Canada joined together on October 1st, 2022 to recognize National Seniors Day and the United Nations International Day of Older Persons. And whereas National Seniors Day focuses on celebrating and honoring the significant role seniors play in contributing to community development and creating healthy communities for our town and our country. And whereas seniors in Torbay contribute in many ways to our community and are involved in all aspects of our lives as parents, grandparents, guardians, teachers, volunteers, mentors, and neighbors. And whereas the town of Torbay is committed to enhancing services for seniors and creating an age-friendly town.
Therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim that October 1st, 2022 be recognized as National Seniors Day in the town of Torbay, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize the crucial role played by older adults in our community and our province. So moved.
Second.
Comments? Go ahead.
This is something, I guess, near and dear to my heart, and that I've been talking about for the last couple of years in particular. I stumbled up on a webinar during COVID talking about age-friendly communities, and I participated in a couple. There's funding available for age-friendly communities, and if we look at partnering with another community, there's additional funding. So I'm hoping over the next couple of weeks, there's applications due on the 4th or the 5th of October to meet with some of our seniors. And I'm so glad even the wording of in here, the last sentence about creating an age-friendly town. And to me, it's important to do whatever we can to make that happen. So I'm all for it.
Thank you. Any other comment? I will say that this proclamation is indicative of seniors. It's short and it's to the point. And the seniors that I deal with in the town of Torbay, it's my favorite events to go to. We talk and they tell you like it is. And you know, there's no back doors with seniors, and I love that about them. And you know, one of the other things that we need to do too is that we're going to be talking about our strategic plan in a little while. We have to start putting more focus on what we can do to make sure our seniors that live in our community now can remain living here. And you know, that's going to be a large undertaking. We need to talk with developers about when they're building.
I got it on there.
When they're building homes and subdivisions and things, and putting some housing in there that seniors can afford and they can live in and don't have to leave our town. And the other part is, of course, everything comes down to accessibility and transportation. There's so many prongs to that, and we need to make sure that we're looking at them all. Can we solve them all tomorrow? Probably not, but we can work towards it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Deputy Mayor, World Breastfeeding Week 2022 proclamation.
Okay. Whereas breastfeeding is recommended for optimal nutrition and healthy growth and development in the early months and years of life, and is fundamental to the well-being and prosperity of communities. And whereas breastfeeding has an impact on lifelong health, with exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months and continued breastfeeding for 2 years and beyond, ensuring that mothers and children receive maximum health benefits. And whereas breastfeeding is one of the most cost-effective prevention strategies for many infections and chronic and acute diseases. And whereas infant feeding is one of the most important decisions that a new family makes. Whereas parents need the support of family, friends, regional health authorities, peer-to-peer support groups, municipalities, community groups and organizations, business and employers, and whereas World Breastfeeding Week provides an opportunity for people to celebrate and to raise public awareness about the importance of breastfeeding and the role everyone can play in normalizing breastfeeding. And whereas the theme for World Breastfeeding Week 2022 in Newfoundland and Labrador is set up for breastfeeding, educate, and support. It focuses on raising awareness of the value of breastfeeding and elevate it to the level of a public health obligation by encouraging organizations and countries to develop measures to safeguard breastfeeding.
Therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of Torbay, proclaim October 1st to the 7th, 2022, World Breastfeeding Week in Newfoundland, Labrador. So moved.
Second.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 2022. All right, and we'll have to get some pictures with them later on. All right. Presentations, none. Q&A. I have a question here that was sent in by Robbie Hicks, and it's, is there a date scheduled for the official dedication of the Amherst Monument? May I suggest that town staff remove the dead spruce trees that border the lookout? Unfortunately, they haven't survived since being planted. Okay, so there's a couple of things there. Number one is that this, yes, that has been on our radar to do, and think that it's important when we do it that we have our partners, our funding partners involved. Who did that was ACOA was a big funding partner, and I think National Parks. So I don't know that we will be able to do it this year, but your question, I'm going to forward it on to. I'll forward it to CAO, and she can and put it to whatever committee. If it's Heritage Committee, they can look at it. The part about the dead spruce trees, guess we can go look at that, Brian. All right, great.
I
Thank you.
can add to that, that it's planned to take place in the spring. It won't be taking place this year.
Okay.
NOAA is looking after it.
All right. Yeah, it's been extremely busy summer, so we get at that, Bobby, as soon as we can. All right. Mayor's report. I'm busy. Busy. That's all I got to report. And I won't bore you with all the details. All right. Where am I to? Business arising. So there's a business arising. There was questions I asked, I guess, in the last public council meeting about project cost sharing information regarding museum exhibit development and Mummers exhibit. And I know that I received that in my email today, as well as the rest of council. So I'll ask that we could forward that along and then include it in our council package at some point. I don't think that.
It is included under the Torbay History House.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
yeah,
Then we'll talk about it then.
it's there.
All right. See? Perfect. Correspondence. We got a correspondence here from Department of Transportation, approval to award contract for Torbay Road projects. So that's our multi-year capital works road projects. So this is approval of 1.457 million, HST included. And I guess we'll be awarding that soon, Brian?
It's actually in the infrastructure public works package.
Perfect. We'll be awarding it really soon, then. Perfect. All right. We have another one for Municipal and Provincial Affairs, Northeast Avalon Regional Plan. I received this email from the minister the weekend when I was in Grand Falls, Windsor. Basically, they're talking, well, for people who don't know what the Northeast Regional Plan is, Currently, everything, all the municipalities on Northeast Avalon fall under the St. John's Regional Plan. And people would notice every now and then we receive referral letters from other municipalities when they're rezoning land to ask our, I guess, opinion or approval because it requires a regional plan amendment. So this has been on the go for a long time. There's been a pile of money spent on it. It started in 2005, so that's 17 years ago now when they first started to work on a Northeast Avalon Regional Plan to replace the current plan. The last bit of work that was done on it, it finished in 2017. And at that time, it looked like we might have been getting close to an agreement. Ralph, you were there at that time, weren't you,
Yeah.
working on that one? And then, of course, 2 elections have taken place since then. And basically what the minister is asking us is if we are interested in moving forward with this plan. So I guess we'll have to take that away and talk about it at committee with council and see what our response is going to be. I have a fair idea what our response would be, was that we'll probably be in favor of participating, but I don't know that we're in favor of giving them any more money. You know, that they've already spent $665,000 on this out of the $771,000 original budget. And that's cost shared between the 15 municipalities that are included in the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan. So I'll probably reach out to a couple of my counterparts here. I was already talking to Mayor Bent about it the weekend, and see where they are, and I'll bring that information back to council just to see where everybody else is on this. I think it's important. It'd be nice if that we could get it done. I do know that in the original plan that we have now, that one that was done in 1976, the Torbay bypass road was on that. So it's you know, it's all encompassing. It looks at roadways and transportation, and hopefully is going to look at, or one of the requests that we're going to make is that regional water be included in the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan. So
I was going to make a comment on that.
no, way ahead on that one. So yeah, so we'll just let that go for now. She's looking for an answer back probably fairly soon, whether we wish to proceed. I guess either we're gonna proceed or we're not. If we don't, then there won't be a regional plan unless the Virginia government does one up and imposes it. I don't see them doing that. All right, next one is from Department of Municipal Provincial Affairs, Fall 22 training. That is part of the mandatory training that the department is rolling out for members of council. So there's a list of some training opportunities there. There's a couple of them that are happening here in the town of Torbay, and there's some virtual options there as well. I was looking through this today, trying to figure out when I could do it. So they're happening over looks like the next month of October and November. So I would encourage anybody to take a look at that, get signed up for whatever training it is that you need to do. There's 5 mandatory training subjects or categories. This orientation training, it knocks off 4 of them into one training session. Roles, responsibilities, council meetings, conflict of interest, budgets. And then the other one is, I don't know what the other one is. Oh yes, ATIP is the other mandatory one. And then there's also one here for the Municipal Code of Conduct poster, a training one. And this is not mandatory for members of council. However, you can participate if you like, but it is certainly for anybody who's going to be working on developing the town's code of conduct. So that would be certainly our senior staff and CAO will be looking at that. All right. Committees, council, committee of the whole. No report. Planning Land Use Development, where am I to? Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met on the 16th of September. The first motion that comes up relates to site development on 451 Pine Line. Town of Torbay has received an application proposing to construct a new 164 square meter sized building for combined office warehouse used for storage of landscaping, construction equipment at 451 Pine Line. This is a discretionary use application. The town received one letter of objection in response to the public notification. There's a detailed background report, including the letter of objection, as well as the committee minutes of September 13th. We didn't see anything there that would require us to not allow this to proceed, so the motion reads, motion to conditionally approve application C 2022-057 /BR 2022-003 to develop property and construct approximately 164 square meter large commercial building on well and septic for combined office warehouse use at 451 Pine Line in accordance with the regulations 33 and 90 of the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025. CMS land use zone table requirements, standard conditions for commercial construction in the town of Torbay, and the conditions outlined in associated background reports. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next one refers to a Crown land referral, which is off Tappers Farm Road extension, and it's for use as a farm, actually. So the town's in receipt of a Crown land referral pertaining to the proposed extension of Tappers Farm Road for the purpose of accessing additional Crown land to be used for farming. The proponent is the Provincial Department of Fisheries, Forestry, and Agriculture. So the motion to approve Crown land referral E160105, CL 2022-009 to extend existing Tappers Farm Road to facilitate accessing further property for farming purposes. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next one I read with some, I won't say angst, but I guess some disappointment, and I don't think we should necessarily have to be there. We reached out to the proponent on a number of occasions, and we hope to come to some type of amicable agreement amongst it all, and it's just unfortunate that it comes down to this. We met with them here in person, and I personally didn't find that it was a real cordial thing, although we tried to be as best we could and trying to understand both sides and come to some agreement. But at the end of it all, the property is at 1235 Torbay Road, continues to be occupied by industrial equipment, despite the town of Torbay not having issued any approvals for the use of land and the applicant having closed the discretionary use application on February 7, 2022. The town continued receiving complaints from area residents on this matter. The town issued 2 notices, July 8th and August 11th, to have equipment removed, as well as the planning committee met with the property owners on June 29th, and department staff spoke with property owners on August 24th, sent a reminder email on September 16th. Equipment continues being stored on the property, is contrary to the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000 and the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025. All the information is attached. So the motion reads, motion to issue a cease and desist order to the property owner of 1235 Torbay Road for continuing to use the property at 1235 Torbay Road for storage of industrial equipment without permit, and to order the property owner at 1235 Torbay Road to have the equipment removed in accordance with the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000 and the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
I just want to say that I don't, this is one that, I mean, we all drive past the area every day, and it looks like it's contiguous use, and I don't know what it would really take to solve the problem and move forward, but there certainly doesn't seem to be a willingness. There seems to be some fence in the way, or not figuratively, but something in the way for us to make this a workable scenario. So it is what it is at this point.
Okay. Additional comment?
I'd just like to, this is really unfortunate that it's come down to this. I mean, it's a piece of property that's there, and in my mind, if the proper I guess procedure was followed that they should be able to park their equipment and what have you there. It's great to see a business such as that expanding in the town where they need to have that additional site. So I look at whatever we can do to make this, I guess, able to happen to please everybody. But I know that the planning department has tried to work with the owners, and it's my understanding that that's not there. So I guess it's unfortunate that we were at this situation, turning the events.
Yeah, I just want to comment because I was at the same meeting as Tony's referring to. You know, we had a opponent in and had a conversation, but again, didn't go far. But at least it was a cordial conversation. It is unfortunate, you know, because it is on a site, you know, where there's hundreds and thousands of cars go by there every day. It's a clean property. It's well kept. It's enclosed with a wire mesh fence. And on top of everything, this past summer, this business received one of our business awards, you know, which is kind of sadly ironic in a way, you know. And I wonder again, looking at the background here, you know, is this going to take us down a legal road now that's going to cost us another wad of cash, you know, on legal? And that really bothers me, because if there was any way that we could resolve this, and we've tried, I think, as best we could, but, you know, where is it going and how much more is it going to cost us? Time and effort, money, whatever, you know, so.
Could cost us the business, that's my big thing with it.
Yeah, yeah. But I think with the position we're in, you know, I for one vote in favor.
First of all, I can finish on it, and maybe, you know, and it is unfortunate. I think we're all on the same page. Like it's something that we really don't want to do. But I think that there comes a time when people have to realize that, you know, the Torbay Town Plan Development Regulations is a legal document that actually binds council to do certain things, whether or not, you know, we necessarily want to do it or believe that it's perfect at the time. The fact of the matter is, if, you know, some resident reads it and interprets the act and holds us to the fire, and we have got to do what we got to do in order to make sure that everything operates. And you know, it sort of segues into, you know, a conversation upcoming now when we review the town municipal plan and regulations. It's so important for people to get out and get involved, so people really understand what it takes. So, but you know, but back to this specific one here, we try not to be the bad guys. We try to work with folks all the time as best we can, although from, you know, people on the other side look at it and say, yeah, you know, that doesn't really make sense from a regulation perspective. But I mean, they're there for a reason, and I guess the time to refute those is when the town plan is going through. So we, you know, it all kind of ties together. So there's responsibilities on all sides. But then I just wanted to.
Yeah, and, you know, just to add, and I agree with everything everybody says, very unfortunate. But the other side of the coin is, when that application was going through, the residents in that area were very in tune with what was going on, and ask questions and come to meetings and sending letters and doing everything they want. They contact me on a regular basis, asking me what the status is, where it's gonna go, and how we're gonna resolve the issue. And it's really difficult when you got residents in the town looking to council and telling us this person is not following the rules and regulations as set out and they list them, and, you know, how can we can't ignore that, we have to deal with it, and, you know, unfortunately, it's come to this point, and, you know, hopefully, at some point, we'll be able to find a way forward, but our hands are tied now on how we have to react, so it is what it is.
I think the bottom line on this is that, listen, I'm all for success in businesses and people of our community, but, you know, you can't take gray area or skirt the rules and regulations of our town. Again, all about successful businesses, but no business or no person is above what we need to do as a town to keep things in proper order.
Okay. Good? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
The last motion is to
Carried.
accept permit listings for the weeks ending September 15th, 2022 as tabled. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Your worship, before I finish, we met as the Environment Committee. I just want to reference the 3 sets of minutes, May, June, and September.
Okay.
I managed to actually sit in on the last one, so I can speak to it from being first-hand experience, which is always nice. So we got a great meeting. We spent about close to 2 hours, I suppose, really discussing, you know, a number of things, because we haven't really had a chance to do it over a period of time. Water always steps out as one of the big concerns overall, and I know Denise, for one, Denise Hodder, a member of the committee, you know, had asked a question about, you know, what do we do for the I guess the requirement for a surplus water supply, in terms of we're just meeting where we are now, but what happens if, you know, everything gets dry, and you know, what is our backup plan around those things? So we did talk about Great Pond, but it's, I guess it's important to realize that they have a certain limit, and we can only go within those limits, be 80% of capacity, whatever, just for those very reasons. The climate resiliency always comes up in what we're doing for climate change and our carbon footprint. I don't know, Robbie Hicks had mentioned about our carbon footprint and how we might measure it and take actually wetlands into consideration as well, because they absorb carbon and hold carbon, whatever. So it's important that we keep an eye on our wetlands, and you know, next town plan for sure, if not before, identify the wetlands that we really want to protect or need to protect from an environmental perspective, and move forward. So we don't catch ourselves in a situation where, you know, people want to develop on wetlands and then we got no regulations backing us up. So it will certainly help us even on that, on a go-forward basis. The mention of the performance stage and picnic area, that was an interesting one, and it just kind of put the caution out to ourselves, I suppose, that, you know, we did things in the conservation zone, and we asked other people not to do things in the conservation zone. So I didn't really realize that myself at the time, but just something we should, you know, keep an eye on, for make sure we don't have double standards for certain things either.
But I take to your point though, right? In conservation zone, so where we've been putting trails in places around ponds and stuff, there is certain development allowed in the conservation zone, passive recreation, I think they refer to it as, which that stage I would imagine would fall under. And, you know, it's not a permanent structure, we can move it if we want, it's not like you're building a house or anything, so. I hear what you're saying.
True, thank you for that. That puts that other perspective on, which is great too. I just kind of, anyway, it just kind of struck me kind of funny when I was sitting there. And recycling, they encourage town to use more social media to encourage increased recycling. And I think we've had that on our minds for a period of time, and it seems like it goes in cycles too. You put the push on, and then it kind of stops, and then put the push on again, and it kind of stops. And I think we need to put the push on again and try to get to get some increased recycling. So we'll take that back to Public Works again and see how that goes back on Brian's plate. And but it should be a town-wide initiative anyway. It should be the communication and follow up and keep it in front of everybody all the time.
So when you do that, can we ask that the company do an audit for us to find out, because we've had that done before, right? To find out what percentage of recycling we were doing. And I think at one point it was fairly low, right? And then we did the big blitz about recycling, and then I thought it came up a bit, but,
Excuse me.
Yeah, so we do get a monthly tonnage for recycling, right, which I monitor.
Okay.
Just don't get really important numbers there, as you were saying it actually. But it has been pretty steady for the last number of years, I'd say. But I think what Councilor Powell was saying is that we need to sort of boost it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I agree.
Can I add something to that? Because it'd be nice to see the stats, like on a monthly basis, if we could get a chart on that too, Brian. But before COVID, I know where I was involved with Public Works and Infrastructure, was working with Paula, and we were going to do a blitz at the school, because that's really where it has to start, especially elementary on up. So maybe it could be something that we could look at doing again in joint, and do something in the school. But we need to see, and even if we had something that would go out on a regular basis, even in here, and say the amount of recycling each month, where we were to when we started with getting those stats, and see the chart. I think it'd be really worthwhile.
Sure, I'd pull together a nice graph for next.
Yeah,
Public
it'd be
Works
nice to have
meeting.
that.
Sure.
And the other thing, Mary, to your point there about that, is that I guess like probably a lot of parents with young kids have two streams of recycling, right? The one I put out at the curb to recycle with the town, and then the other ones,
Yes.
like cans and bottles and stuff that I donate to the school or I bring out there, so there's two, that one there, you can't really estimate what it is, but the schools are certainly benefiting from that, so just something to keep in mind. All right, that it, sir?
So is my report, your worship. Yep.
Thank you. Administration and Human Resources. Deputy Mayor.
We had our meeting on the 12th, and Councillor Pollard sat in for Councillor Tapper and Councillor Manning. I'm hard keeping anybody there on that committee. Everything here is pretty straightforward. I'm not getting in, there's no motions. And so if anybody's got anything, I'm sure.
Just a reminder
Big thing
for-
that I want to remind everybody, and I mean, it's critical that everybody is here on September 26th to do that strategic plan. Because to me, I cannot see how we can look at the budget or finalize the budget without our strategic plan being completed. What are you going to say, Councillor Pollard?
I was gonna say, the reminder, I thought you were gonna close off, but you
Oh.
finished off there. I was
Yeah.
gonna remind everybody of the strategic plan and
Yeah.
the importance that plays in terms of where we need to get.
Okay, good point. That's it. Okay, moving on. Corporate Services. Where am I looking for? Councilor Tapper.
Okay, we'll deal with the Corporate Services Report first for September 19, 2022. The regular payroll for 45 employees for the 2-week period ended September the 9th, 2022 totaled $99,270.36. Accounts payable for the 2-week period ended September the 9th, 2022. Invoices in the amount of $54,799.25 were processed. Invoices for council approval. There are 4 operating invoices totaling $116,624.81. So invoice 46555,928, Diligent Canada Inc., $17,230.57. Invoice 1812467, GFL Environmental, $44,594.99. Invoice August 16th to the 31st, 2022, Receiver General, $37,714.03. Invoice September 2022, Trio Benefits, Group Benefits, Premium $17,085.22. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The following 3 capital invoices totaling $113,784.91 are presented for approval. Invoice 81296, Englobe, $5,009.64.48. Invoice Claim 1, Platinum Construction Company Limited, $82,958.53. And invoice number 120693, Skyline Atlantic, $24,861.90. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Comments? I will make one quick comment. Thank you. That's a nice addition to the report there, those little numbers indicating what the percentage of the town is putting towards some of these projects. That's good job, well done, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Excuse me.
Carried.
Okay, let me see, I'm after losing my way here. There's committee motions there, September 21st, 2022. Motion 1, gas tax funding reallocation. Upon review of previous years' unspent gas tax funding allocations, the Corporate Services Committee recommends the reallocation of the funds listed below to a new project for the completion of the traffic and pedestrian crosswalk lights for the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department. There are a list of projects. Number 261-2010-1324, Streets, Camp Carey Road, 107,206.35. Project number 261-2010-1326, Streets, McFadden Street, 49,880.60. Project 261-2014-5180, Long-Term Plan for Water System, 62,426. Project 261-2014-5182, Pedestrian Safety, 12,561. Project number 261-2016-6004, Streets Upgrade of Morris Avenue, 28,528.57. Project number 261-2017-6362, Lower Street Trail Development, 3,121.48. This results in 263,719 of gas tax funds that are available for real allocation for the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department Traffic and Pedestrian Crosswalk Light Project. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Can I
Comments?
ask, I really don't know if I understand what this, so you're saying then that Camp Carey Road, that was done last year?
That was done in 2010.
Okay, so that was done, but it wasn't carried over to the right
What happened was,
account?
at the time, the projects were paid out of
So I mean,
main operating,
they
and
weren't,
then the invoices weren't applied back to the gas tax, right, Norm?
yeah, they weren't charged to the right account?
No, there's an explanation on page 112 of what we found for the investigations of all those projects. For Camp Carey Road and McFadden Street, both of those projects were done, and they were done substantially under budget. The long-term plan for the water system, the 5180, the project was approved for 201,665, and the tender was awarded for 144,965. So they'd applied for the gas tax funding based on the estimate. The tender came in under the estimate, but that money was still frozen in the gas tax reallocation, and it's got to be taken out. For pedestrian safety, that one had some invoices that were paid out of our operating, because I went in and got the total of the invoices, and they weren't all claimed on our gas tax report. For Morris Avenue, that project was under budget, and the Lower Street Trail Development, all costs for trails that year were actually charged to our 200,000 in trails, and nothing was charged to gas tax.
Okay, so that was gas tax funding that was left in limbo that hadn't
Yes,
been
exactly.
used at all, so was extra money funding that was found.
Yes, so the gas tax secretariat won't let us use the funding unless you get a motion to council to take it out of that project, and then you can leave it unallocated, or you can allocate it to another project. And the recommendation is to allocate it to the streetlights out here for the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department.
Yeah, because I was gonna suggest, I thought, going down over each of them, like, probably should have been a separate motion, so that if we had to go back and change something for funding purposes, you wouldn't have to go back and amend the whole motion, but, okay,
Well,
Thank you.
now, at the end of the day,
it's all one.
it'll be in one fund, and then if we want to
Yeah.
reallocate, it's easier.
Okay.
But to the point, though, about this being gas tax money, we can do that. Whereas if this was ISIP, they'd put a sign on your lawn saying 2.3 million and only give you 800,000. and then tell you to forget the rest of the money.
Yeah.
I got a-
Can you tell I'm bitter about that? Because I am.
I had a couple questions on it.
Sign should be updated.
Can we get a copy of the long-term plan for the water system that was done? I don't think I've ever seen it, and I'm hoping that includes how Great Pond is going to come on stream and what the development area around that is, and that we'd have to do some other type of study to try to figure out what that looks like. So if someone can make a note, that I wouldn't mind seeing that, the result of that particular gas tax project. Norm, I'm assuming that we got to put in another capital investment plan to gas tax to get this approved?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. And we already have this money, so, which means it's coming from, it's really gonna be money out of our current operating? Or is it from the gas tax account?
It will, well,
Is the money in the gas tax account or is it in the current operating?
it'll be gas tax money coming in 2022.
But
Because
in
we've
the-
received the money we received some money in 2022. At the beginning of this year, there was a balance of, I think it's, you'll see it coming up on a gas tax report. I think it's $84,000 we had carried forward in our gas tax account. And in this year's gas tax allocation, we actually have 160,000 of the current year's allocation that we didn't have committed to any projects.
Okay, but we already have this $263,000 in hand, you say?
We have 84 in hand that we rolled over at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
and 160 will come out of the 2022 allocation.
And that'll finish off our gas tax allocation to 2024? Will that take
No,
care of it all?
no, there's still 4 projects that are still in progress,
Yeah.
so they will still be continuing.
Okay. But as far as we know, all that money is expended, right? Once we spend this, there's nothing else to spend in the gas tax fund that we can use for anything else.
I don't think so, no.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, motion number 2, approval of gas tax annual expenditure report. BDO has completed their audit of the attached 2021 gas tax annual expenditure report. The mayor's signature is required on the draft report. A signed copy of the draft report is required to be returned to BDO prior to the issuance of the final report. The Corporate Services Committee recommends the approval of the draft report by council and the fixation of the mayor's signature indicating this approval. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And motion 3, Picos Ridge funding. 2 submissions were received for the Picos Ridge project. Proponents, Carew Services, and Evans Landscaping. So they're graded in columns here. Mandatory requirements for Carew and Evans both had a pass. For the base bid price, Carew was $107,030 plus HST. Evans was $137,700 plus HST. So the total ranking out of 100 average for Carew was 88.5, for Evans was 56.5. As both bids exceeded the budget, there are not sufficient funds in the 2022 budget to complete the project. To complete the project without further delays, the Corporate Services Committee recommends the reallocation of the additional required funding for the Picos Ridge project from the debt payment accounts listed below and complete the Picos Ridge project as tendered. 2023 MYCW road improvements, $46,222. 2023 MYCW storm water management, $14,976. This would allow the project to be completed as tendered. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
So this money is coming from what we would have financed for road improvements and stormwater management, which we haven't done yet, is what we're saying?
That's correct. We haven't done any financing for either of those projects. With the approval of the road project coming up, we'll be able to actually go out now and get bids and finance that one based on the tender. but stormwater management still hasn't been financed, so there'll be substantial savings in those accounts.
Yeah, I think next year we'll be hitting with those. Was this one cost share with Portsmouth Coast and Phillips? Pecos Ridge is cost shared, right?
We're doing ours and they're doing theirs. It is cost shared with, I think it's a COA, gave us $40,000 for it.
I think actually, Tony, to your point, the piece actually up on Pecos Ridge, we're both sharing the cost on that, I think. But our portion in our History House Garden and the piece that Portrait Cove is doing up in,
Okay, so this one is, this
Yeah.
is different, this is, okay.
that's that one. Am I right on that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm concerned that, like, okay, it's road improvements, but that money could be put toward other road improvements.
The expenditure is actually the debt payments on the loans we would have financed.
Okay, so we haven't gone yet to.
We haven't financed those yet.
So next year, if we haven't done that, then we're going to be doing it.
It would actually come out now the fall, the financing for
Okay.
that project.
So
will.
this is not going to negatively affect any of our plans and what we were planning on doing?
No.
Okay, that's my big concern about where the money would be going. The other thing with this, I'm wondering, and maybe, you know, staff is aware, but are there other pressures anywhere else that potentially we should be looking at or we don't know about? That could be in another GL somewhere, like these are the only pressures that we're under right now to make something happen that we know of?
When
Like,
we,
because that could be used, could that have been used to cover off a shortfall in the overall budget, if there is one?
when we did our projections at the end of June, we were still under budget.
Okay,
We're out to the end of September yet, so they haven't been done for the third quarter. But yes, this money could be reallocated to anywhere where there was a shortfall.
yeah, because I'm looking at some of the shortfalls in particular departments, so, I know.
Well, I mean, the other point to that, Mary, is if we don't move forward with this
Oh,
project,
I know that.
we might lose that money from COVID.
Oh, I know, that's the other part of it, but I just want to make sure that we're looking at and got everything covered off, all the pressures and where we may be after going over budget. And I'm all for getting this started, and, because I understand there was problems with getting
Granted.
quotes and that
And
on
granted,
it. Yeah. Okay. It's good to see that we're moving, because it was supposed to be originally completed or started anyway in August.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, motion for loan financing. Due to delays in the approval of the rates for loan financing provided by RBC, RBC was unable to provide the original financing rates quoted. New rates provided by RBC are 5.67% for the 5-year pickup loan, 5.63% for the 10-year JCB loader loan. This is an increase of 0.34% on each loan. The Corporate Service Committee recommends approval of the revised rates. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded, comments?
Yeah, I can't pass by without commenting on it, really.
I can give you the background on that. When we approved the rates in council last time, I went back to Bill at RBC and said they'd been approved, and he came back to me and said Toronto was no longer holding them, and there's nothing he could do about it. So then they came back with the new rates that were 0.34% higher, and it was due to the 0.75% Bank of Canada rate increase.
Right, and at the time when I asked the question, we said they were holding for 90 days. So
90
they-
days, and it was
they
72 days or something like that.
Have they changed their policy now that they're not gonna hold for 90 because it's gonna be another, 2 or 3 weeks before it gets through municipal affairs, and then if the rate jumps again?
I am hoping to get these into municipal affairs tomorrow.
Stay on top of municipal affairs then. To get the approval. I still go back to my statements last time around about funding out of our own reserve, but I'll still let this go.
Well, I-
Maybe we get it next time around.
I like that idea, and we'll have that chat, right, around budget. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, so there's the usual reports there. If I'm sure you all read them and have lots of questions, but if not, that's my report.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, economic development and tourism. Do. Who was at that meeting, Buzz? Anybody? Ward? Nobody was there? All right, so there's a report in the community, it's an there we go, there's an update. I'll read it out. Pickle Ridge update, we just heard about that, so, closing date for RFP was extended because nobody made submissions. And I would imagine that probably got something to do with the fact that the prices came in higher than we originally thought. And, I know that there was issues also around getting granite for the monuments, so I think that, it all goes into it. Regional wayfinding update, request quotes are out. Torbay Community Market final report. There was a total of 78 vendors registered on Saturday, August 21st. Thank you to all the vendors who participated, and Torbay Folk Arts Council for coordinating 6 youth with the community to provide musical entertainment during the market. And a survey was provided to all the vendors. Total 15 responses were received. 60% responses prefer a fall market, 34% both summer and fall market, and the remainder indicated either fall or summer work for them. 60% prefer inside market. 1% prefer outside. 27% prefer to offer accommodation both inside and outside. So just more. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering why you're reading that one out, because I gave the other report and it was only if anybody had any questions
All
on it,
right.
so I don't think there's any need to read it all out if everybody's after reading it.
Perfect. Okay, good enough.
That
Anybody
was
got any questions?
instructions from our mayor, you know that?
I just thought it was interesting to highlight the fact that we did have
Yes.
the community market. But you're right, I don't need to
Okay,
go through all
all
the
right.
percentages. It's all there in the council package. If anybody wants to ask questions about it, call or send your emails to the deputy mayor. All right.
Of course.
History, heritage, culture, and arts, deputy mayor.
Already. It's all there if anybody's got any questions or any comments or what have you on it. We had our meeting on the 15th.
Can you give an update on that business arising piece? Just because it was raised at the last council meeting.
Business arising.
Yeah, I know that the museum manager reached out and provided some updates there with regards to the invoices.
Yeah,
There was questions about it.
okay.
Now, you don't have to go through it all.
No, and I just wanted to go back to that one thing that I was going to highlight on the report. That Noah's involved, or I asked Noah to get involved from the discussion there about the age-friendly communities, and that he had a discussion with the provincial government, even though the funding that's available should be for some form of a program. But he's going back to the initial idea of having a plan in place, because our plan, I think, was in 2015. And I guess we were looking for the initial plan that was done up, but so far we haven't seen it. So at least this will be a fairly accurate one that will be going forward. So the fact that they're recommending that, I'm hoping that we'll get somewhere with it, because they'll provide the funding to have the report done, so.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sounds good.
The business arising, there was questions there about some invoices, and he's gone back and got all of the information in there on it.
Right.
So everything is basically right here, straightforward, and one of the ones that we questioned about furniture, and from Island Furniture. That was approved, was submitted to, the quote including an itemized list of furnishings to be purchased was submitted to council and approved at the April 18th regular public council meeting. So, and we only had the invoice and that come through recently. So everything is explained in there. You know, if anybody's got any, I'm quite comfortable when I saw this report that he's got put in here, to any of the spending that he has. And I'm assuming that, Director of Finance, Corporate Services is fine with the rationale and everything that we've got in there as well, or Noah has.
I am, and I'd like to add that for the exhibits that are being developed up at History House, the cost of the exhibits is only 25% to the town. It's a $310,000 project, which is $155,000 from ACOA, 50%, and TCII of the province is doing 25% for $77,000. So the 155 from ACOA is deposited and in our bank, and we're still waiting on the 77 from TCII.
Okay, good, thank you.
And that's all really important to look at, because I know the invoices and everything that's coming through. We went down over the budget that they've got up there, had up there for this year, and despite, I could not believe the minimum amount that was in there, and even part of that would have been for storage that wasn't included in the budget, and I think Director of Public Works Infrastructure ended up going up, because it was storage that I guess your department was covering, that it was like $16,000 out of $40,000, that's the amount. So it's unbelievable how close and how tight everything is up there. And while I'm glad that Nora mentioned that, because for residents looking at those invoices and looking at it, it's not coming from taxpayers' money here. A lot of it is being from different grants and what have you, that he's been very successful in obtaining. That's why I'm hoping that he'll be as successful with the one for age-friendly communities.
Okay, thank you very much.
Could I just,
Go ahead, Al.
oh, sorry, couple of comments. I agree with Mary, because there's a list of grant applications there. It's a mile long, and most of them are successful.
Yeah.
There's a few just submitted, but I think overall throughout the year, we've been doing great when it comes to grants for the History House. One thing I think is really, really important, I think, to the town. On page 2 of 19, he mentions the Mayor Codner's papers.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I
Codner.
talked to Lisa about that
Yeah,
yesterday.
I was too. Codner family will donate the research papers of former Mayor Bob Codner to the Jacob Barbie Archives and Genealogy Room. This includes the unfinished manuscript of former Mayor Codner's second book, which will be published by Torbay History House and Museum. I think that's great to hear.
Yeah.
You know, because nobody knew, you know, everybody knew it was in limbo, but nobody thought it would come this far.
And that was his goal when he finished up council.
Yeah,
He was going
yeah.
to write the second book, and to know that it's that far ahead, I think that's amazing, and that we've got it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad that we
Yeah.
could make that connection.
Yeah, thanks for that, Councillor Tapper.
Councilor Pollard?
Just on this report, and thanks to Noah for writing it, thanks for Norm for feathering all the information there, and sure, working with Noah. I didn't necessarily want it to be a defensive memo when I asked a lot of the questions on it. I do have one question. Octopus Consulting reference there is that it was subcontracted by Fundamental Inc. Can we ensure that if it was subcontracted by Fundamental, should not Fundamental have paid for it? Because our contracts are with Fundamental and not Octopus, so if it's either part and parcel of Fundamental Inc.'s dollars, or is it something above and beyond Fundamental Inc.'s dollars? If it's subcontract, you would think it would form part of the cost to Fundamental, and we wouldn't pay Octopus. And if we do pay Octopus, then we shouldn't pay Fundamental for a certain amount. My thoughts, anyway. I don't know how it's written. I don't know what it is, but you would think that a subcontract that it comes from a pool we already approved for somebody, not being Octopus. So if someone can take a look at that,
You got that, Norm?
Understand the question?
Taking the notes in my book.
I know, I saw you going there, so, thank you.
Just so you don't pay someone twice. And you know, the expenditures are, I wouldn't want to hold them up or anything, just my concern when I saw some was that they didn't actually come through council for approval in advance. It's nice to see that everything went through from procurement processing, we'd end up in the same place anyway at the end of the day. Like the Reed music, I don't know if we ever talked about that or did motion for those things. It's nice to see the motions for the other ones, but these ones weren't necessarily done that way, so, and the Lucidia Technologies Corp. Just to know where it fits in the budget scheme and make sure that it was considered when we're doing it and not above and beyond without coming through council first for those things. Triware is not resolved either. There was no expenditure related to that. I'm assuming that's the normal hourly charge for them. It looks like it might be, but maybe not. So we still need clarification on Triware invoice.
Okay.
Charged off that account.
Yeah. Noah is really good with procurement. Before he goes out and does anything, he'll come down, he'll sit in my office, and we'll go down and see what the requirements of the procurement act are, and whether he's got to go get tenders or whether he can go get 3 quotes, and he is really good with that.
Oh, yeah, no, and that I wasn't, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't want people to be on the defensive and hold things up, except that, you know, the $5,000 is the council approval limit to break for most things, but I know we vary from that lots of times, but hey, just get an
Okay.
eye, that's all.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
All right.
All right, infrastructure, public works, Councilor Pollard.
I myself and Brian did a short tour of the town. Didn't resolve what Brian wanted to resolve, but that's all we can say at the end of the day. Councillor Appleby was in transit at the time, so we couldn't meet. So there's an update here. If anybody has any questions on it, I do note that the sidewalk project, the sods are being placed. I passed Murphy's or someone there coming down Balding Line, so it's nice to see the sods growing in. Or hopefully they grow in. I see them going in at the present time.
So that mean now they're doing all the sods? Because I brought that up, remember, last week. Or is it just certain areas?
I was actually speaking to the contractor on it this afternoon, and he was seeking some clarification on what areas is required. Because as I mentioned in the last meeting, I think there was areas that we filled in, say, between here and Mayor Brown's, that wasn't a part of the original contract. So that's something we're going back and looking at there now. But most of it will be done. There might be a few short sections that you may see a change order for.
That'd be a nice place to plant tulips if they don't put any.
I know, and you know the
If you don't
bags
put
of
any grass in.
wildflower seed and just putting it along, they're like for beautification, I got them.
And it heads up on there's one place where water is pooling after they did some work through no fault of the contractor, or at least that's our understanding. So it's going to require a bit of work to level it off so the water drains away from Torbay Road to Darrell Pye Drive. And Darrell Pye Drive at the intersection of Torbay Road.
Yeah.
There's a motion here to award the multi-year capital works roads project for 2020 to 2024. Motion to award project number 17, multi-year capital works 22-00069, Torbay Roads project to Weirs Construction Limited in the amount of $1,457,901.58, HST included. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, comments?
Let's get it done.
Get her done. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So is that any of that going to start this year?
Depends. Guess how quick they can mobilize.
Yes, the plan is that they will be mobilizing very quickly, and we'll get so much as we can done this year before.
Yeah, no, because I had a call from a resident out in Robin Place and said, because I thought when we last spoke that it probably wouldn't happen this year.
Actually, Robin Place is the #1 street that I got on the list out of the 7, so.
Yeah, so.
If anything, that one will get done.
Yeah,
hopefully.
because I was surprised when they said, and I said, okay, sounds good.
Okay. Did we vote on that? Eh?
believe we did, but we could do.
Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
But you sure? You got it wrote down?
I don't. so-
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'd hate to have that delayed because we forgot to vote. Somebody going back looking at the video, see if we voted or not.
There's not much else to report on anything other than everything's still in process, and we're still working with the Aquafuna on the softball field net and the generator side of things. Obviously the water treatment, the zone meters are still in process of being done. You see the warm oil in the process of being finished now. It looks like it'll be finished well in time for the November 1st celebrations, or Remembrance Day, November 11th, I should say. And going around town, we went down Beamerview Place, small lane off Manning's Hill, and there's a retaining wall there that it will be in need of some repair, so that will be coming forward, I would think, in the not too distant future to get that done, or at least secured until next year. So we'll see that. That'll probably be in the area of $45,000. It is something that will need to be done, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And that ends my report, Your Worship.
Right on. Did you know your way around, Roy?
I wasn't driving, so
All right, thank you.
I always know my way around.
Recreation, Community Services, Councillor Goss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met on September 13th, and again, as seems to be our common theme, the minutes are there for everybody's perusal, and have a review. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will highlight a couple of things. Registration, we had 873 registration for programs this past 30 days, with revenues of $9,650, which is good news. Just wanted to remind everybody for National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, wear your orange t-shirt on the 30th in support of that. Also would like to, the committee would like to congratulate the winners of the 2022 Silver Spades Property Beautification Awards and thank them for participating this year. Tony and Juanita Hickey, Best Residential Property. Terry Bullock, Best Vegetable Garden. Sarah Gill, Best Naturalized Garden. George and Wanda Byrne, Best Mature Garden. The 50-plus living condos, excuse me, on Piperstock Place, Best Commercial Property, and Paul Hillier for overall winner. Our next meeting is September 27th, 2022, and that so ends my report.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions? Excellent. Liaison committees, Atlantic Mayor's Conference. They met, I received actually a report, and I'm gonna, once I get it compiled, I'll forward it on, put it in the package for council's reading pleasure. I guess the only thing I can call it. Intergovernmental Affairs, Federal, Provincial, Municipal, got some updates from, obviously, the government this week on our roads projects. Still waiting to hear back from the engineering department on the request to lower the speed limit or change the speed limit on Bowling Line. So that's something that I've been continuing to follow up with MHA and with the department. And that's it for that. Jack Byrne.
We were supposed to meet last night, but we couldn't form a quorum, but actually with the memo with our Board of Directors of Appointments, I'd like to read the following, please. As the council is aware, we have 4 representatives of the Jack Byrne Regional Sports and Entertainment Board, 2 council representatives, and 2 community representatives. We have a motion here that the town of Torbay appoint Lori Furlong to the Jack Byrne Regional Sports and Entertainment Center Board of Directors as community representative for the town of Torbay for a 2-year term effective September 21st, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion 2, that the town of Torbay appoint David Hearn to the Jack Byrne Regional Sports and Entertainment Center Board of Directors as a community representative for the town of Torbay for the 2-year term effective September 21, 2022. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Is it possible, I know we've said in the past, to have them come in maybe to a council meeting so we can meet them and
Yeah, we'll
You
put
know,
out an
we've
invitation.
talked about that in
Yeah.
the past, but it's nice to have the face and the name and that, and for them to know, again, what the expectations, and I guess they know that, but we've had some problems in the past.
Yeah, sure, we'll put out an invite for them to come in, like probably when we're having the committee hall meeting, we could give them 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning to come in, chat with us and introduce themselves, see what they're about.
Agreed.
All right, sounds
Yeah.
good. That's it, sir.
That's it, sir.
Thank you. Northeast Avalon Joint Council, Deputy Mayor.
We didn't have enough, so our meeting was canceled last week, and the next one is scheduled for October.
Okay, thank you. RNC, I don't have any update in regards to the RNC. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, the minutes are attached. You got anything to say there, Councillor Benny?
No, I was just gonna say, minutes are attached to
Okay,
any questions, feel them.
all right. Thank you. Where am I? Urban Municipalities Committee. So I just got back on Saturday. I was in Grand Falls, Windsor for our Urban Municipalities Committee meeting. And I have to say, it was a really good meeting. We never had a huge crowd. We had 20 some odd people, I guess, out of it, but we had some really good discussions, and we had some presentations from the RCMP talking about community policing. We did have an opportunity to tour Grand Falls, Windsor's new sewer treatment plant. And they have the lagoon type, so they have a treatment, like a separator or whatever. Then it runs out into one big, they're all man-made ponds, so big lagoon, 15 feet deep. Then it goes into a secondary lagoon, then into a third one, and then it goes through a UV plant at the end. And then the water runs out of there out into the Sam River. So it's clean at that point, right, when it goes out. And I was standing there looking at it, sizing up the amount of ground they had. And I said, you know what, we don't even have that much flat land in Torbay to put one lagoon, let alone put trees and plant and everything else alongside of it, so it's interesting.
How many acres is it? Gotta be huge.
I don't know.
Guess.
I'd say at least 20 or
Yeah.
20, sure. But they build this in phases, right? So
Yeah.
they start off with the first lagoon and then, now they haven't had to empty it yet. So I think after 15 years, they have to drain the water out and then scoop all the sludge out and bring that to the dump or whatever. But it was really clean operation and nice, and there was no smell around like you would expect. But it's interesting to see the technologies that are being used. But I will say this, the last part that they built, this UV building, it's a big building. It's probably as big as this council chamber, right? All concrete, UV set up, everything, all that year. $2.5 million cost it. I said, I can't believe it. Like, we can't even build a shed here for $2.5 million down around this area in the Northeast Avalon. But they seem to find ways out there to be able to do it, and I don't know how, maybe they got more competition for tenders or whatever. But, you know, when I look at how much technology is in that building and the size, the footprint and all that stuff, you know, it's pretty good that they were able to do it for that. And, yeah, I got some pictures, I'll circulate them to you if you wanna have a look. It was interesting, and it was nice, and it was, I wanna thank them while I'm at it. Town of Grand Falls, Windsor for hosting us. And it's been a hard old slog. We were gonna go there in July, and then with the forest fires, we had to cancel, and then we ended up, looking August, and then ended up going in September, but they were gracious hosts, and it was a very good meeting. So, once I get the minutes back from that, I'll circulate the council so you can all have a gander on what we were talking about. Any questions or comments on that? Any of those things? Good. Notice of motion, we have none. New business. Pass. Deputy Mayor.
Say thank you to everybody involved with the Silver Spades Property Beautification Awards. It was a nice evening down at the Common, and I know there was the judges and to Scott for arranging everything, and to the History House staff. On Sunday, they had another tea party, and all of the treats were made by Donna, and I don't know Donna's last name, but she's the employee up there, and it was unbelievable. Like, it was a good thing that they were all really small, because we would have ended up taking more and more. I went back in to ask if there was any left at the end of it all. I told her that I wanted one for my sister-in-law, but they never made it over
Didn't
there.
believe you.
They never made it. They believed me, but they never made it over next door. Anyway, everything was really good, I must say, and the people that were there were really pleased with the way everything went. So, and some of the board members were serving, which was very nice to see. And they're having just, I meant to mention it, some people expressed interest in various courses, such as beginner's knitting, introduction to genealogy, and the traditional music and traditional dance, plus other art classes and what have you coming up the fall. So it's all really good. And that's it for me.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Your Worship, can I just
Go ahead.
interject one thing? I forgot to mention, going through the PW report, their bulk garbage pickup is this weekend at the depot.
Oh.
So it starts actually Thursday, 10 to 6:30, Fridays, 10 to 6:30, and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 7.
I haven't seen anything
if that-
communicated on that.
Yeah, I got something in the mail a couple of weeks ago. If that storm comes like we're expecting, are we gonna postpone that, Brian?
No.
Next weekend.
No, we're going to monitor Thursday, Friday, we'll be fine, I think, and if it's too blustery on Saturday, we'll probably end up canceling it. And the thing about it is logistics of getting the containers and that, so if we do cancel it, trying to reschedule it, it's not so easy as just doing it.
No, I know.
So we're gonna try to push it through.
I'm just thinking of people, right, when you're dealing with bulk garbage, a lot of
Yeah.
times it's big and bulky.
Yeah.
And if if it's blowing 150, then probably we don't want nobody out.
Yeah, I don't think, again, I'm not Eddie Shearer, but I don't think we're gonna get the win
But hopefully we
so
won't.
much as.
All right, thank you for mentioning that. All right, I just want to say thank you to our staff and our committee for Torbay 50, as things are still rolling out and events are still happening, and I know that the dinner theater was coming up. It's going to be sold out in 2 days, which is really good. And you know, it's nice to see people interested and excited about going to the events in the town, and the committee and our staff and council has done a great job promoting those things. So thank you everybody for that. I also want to thank, and I guess just mention that I was talking to Brian last week after we had that big showers of rain when St. John's and other places were getting flooded. I never heard any major issues around here. I'm sure our staff were out making sure that debris was cleaned out and ditches weren't plugged. And, you know, we didn't see any real issues around with water. I never heard any anyway. And I think it's a testament to work our staff did prior preparing. And I'm sure they're gonna do the same thing again this weekend, even though Brian don't think we're gonna get any water and any wind and everything, but hopefully you're right. But I will suggest to people, just in case that hurricane takes a right-hand turn there somewhere tomorrow or next day, to be prepared. You know, get your storm chips and stuff ready, and batten down the hatches, tie on the patio furniture, or put it away for the winter, or whatever you're gonna do. But just be safe and look after yourself and your family. With that, I will entertain, oh, hang on, Q&A. You got anything, Paula?
Yeah, I'd just like to offer a little point of view. The idea of residents sending in an email.
Can you turn that on? The button on the right. Oh, no, it's
Let
not.
him t- it's not
Gotta be
turned
turned
on.
on underneath. There you go.
Thanks, Norm. The idea of residents being able to send an email, I think it's a really good idea. I think through COVID, we learned we can do it. And I'll just use myself as an example. If I get COVID, I'd like to be at home and know who to call, whether it's Dawn or Ann. And if I'm thinking about going home to visit my mother, then for 2 weeks, I stay pretty away from people because I want to get on that plane knowing I'm well. And so I think it's a really good idea to keep it going. I don't think it's a big effort. So just offering that as food for thought.
Okay.
It was a great meeting. I really liked this meeting very much.
Thank you. But this particular one? This particular meeting?
Pardon me?
Did you say you really like this particular
I
meeting?
did, yeah.
Me too.
I don't know what just happened, but that's okay.
Thank you. All right, our next public council meeting is scheduled to take place October 3rd, 2022, 6:30 PM right here in the council chambers in the town of Torbay. Come one, come out. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Thank you very much, everybody.